For us, it was also a surprise. We had lots of changes amongst the pastors in MCO. We never could understand why we were living through so many difficult situations. What was God trying to teach us? We kept advancing, and children kept bringing children. And one day we realized that the children would eventually bring their parents. Up until now, this hasn't happened. 11 years of working with children, and we don't have this fruit that we desire and have longed for, of wanting adults to form and disciple. If we care for the children, we will eventually have their parents. But right now, MCO doesn't have many adults, but we have continued to grow throughout the years. There was a group of kids that were always faithful even when many kids had left. Today, many that have left have returned as teenagers and young adults. But what about the children who had stayed? God began to call them into the ministry. God began to tell us that we needed to form these kids. They're going to multiply. It's like God was saying that we had a liquid we need to pour into others so that they weren't empty. It was the way that we were going to multiply. We began to raise them up. We have a couple that were married a few years ago, graduated from the Bible school here, that the Church of Children sent to study so they could pastor. The Church of Children paid all of the expenses. What happened? We began to see that they wanted to work. They had an enormous passion, and they wanted to do more and more. They always wanted to complete more. We began to outline what they would do as ministers of the Lord. We only had a church of children, yet we were raising up pastors. And these pastors would eventually leave and form other churches. It's incredible how God has shown us. We are a church of pastors because we have many pastors. Right now we have 5 pastoral couples, and yet we only have 8 adults, and they are not pastors. The young adults are the pastors. So we are planning weddings, and others are recently married. It's incredible. God showed us that we would be the pastors of pastors, but I didn't pay attention to it. I said, okay, one day it will happen. That's fine. But wow, it was the truth. We seriously are pastors of pastors. We have been chosen to raise them up and train them. And we are thankful to God, because if we are going to have pastors, that means we are going to have churches. Now in 11 years, we are no longer one church. We are 3. And we are working with the same system. We only work with kids. But it really has surprised us. We never imagined that we would be forming pastors. Never. We felt like children's pastors only. But now we are not only pastors of a church that has children, we are pastors of pastors. For us, it has been a huge work and a privilege. It has come with a high price that we've had to pay and are continuing to pay. But it is well worth the sacrifice. Since the beginning, when we started, we had my wife and 2 of my girls, the oldest and the middle, who was a baby, and myself. But 11 years have passed, and now we can look back and say, wow, God is great, and He loves us so much, because how we started, we were like, who are we? And now, wow.
Surely children were made for the streets, and fathers were not made to leave. Surely this isn't how it should your kingdom come.